There is a look at labor productivity in US dollars in 2021, the OECD's calculation. Now, Ireland is a special case, of course, as it gets distorted by massive multinational tech company investments to avoid tax. Anyway, the picture is pretty clear. Canada ranks pretty low in terms of labor productivity. And we've come down in 2014, for example, the OECD put Canada in the top 10. Our guest says meaningful policy changes are needed, but governments in Canada have no real political incentive to tackle the problem aggressively. We're joined by Eugene Lang, adjunct professor at the School of Policy Studies, Queen's University. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. I'm not going to say you're a cynic, but you have a somewhat jaded view here. You say that there are things governments could do, but they just lack the incentive. We have this democratic deficit. They're short-term in their thinking. Give us an example of one or two things that governments should be doing but aren't.
Well, you wouldn't be the first person to accuse me of being a cynic, so you shouldn't feel bad about that. I think it's more being realistic about things. As you say, they're not incentivized. Governments aren't really incentivized to deal with long-run structural issues in the economy, and that's what we have here with the productivity problem. They're incentivized to deal with the short term. What can they do about it has been a perennial issue that's been debated among economists and policy analysts for many, many years, and some things have been tried and not much has had much impact, if any impact. There are a couple of big things I think that could be tried that haven't been tried. One is real regulatory reform. If you look at business surveys, they typically identify government regulation at all levels of government as their major impediment to growth. Now, some provinces are tackling regulation. The federal government is not. Federal government has talked a game on regulatory reform, deregulation, smart regulation. They've used different terms. For 30 years, they've done almost nothing on it. So that's one area. The other one that keeps coming up is internal trade barriers. Again, this is an issue that has been debated and worked on to some degree among governments for 30 years. The first agreement on internal trade was signed in 1994. I was in the federal government at the time. I remember it. Very little progress, as you know, has been made on that file. There's been suggestions the provinces should make it a big priority. They haven't done so. The federal government doesn't even really understand its own authorities and jurisdiction here. I think that one thing they could do is make a reference to the Supreme Court to get clarity on what their authorities and jurisdiction is here, and then exercise it. And that hasn't been done. That would take a great degree of political courage, though, on the part of any government to do that.
I mean, labor mobility is one example of a provincial trade barrier. Professionals can't just move from province to province. Seems illogical to me.
There's documented, I think, nearly 200 different barriers that exist, all different types of non-tariff barriers. They're all non-tariff barriers. They're not really they're not tariffs. And there's been estimates that suggest this could lop as much as 4% off the GDP of the country, these internal trade barriers that I've seen, estimates along those lines. So it's a big issue. The third thing I would mention as well is there's all these programs in the federal government, largely in a department called Innovation, Science and Economic Development Canada, that's supposed to spur innovation, which is supposed to have an impact on productivity. We have no idea about the success rate of any of these programs. The government doesn't publish any indicators or performance metrics on these programs. It should do so, and if these programs aren't working, they should be shut down, and the money, which is significant, deployed into other newer initiatives that might be able to get at this problem.
We talked to the Taxpayers Federation just the other day, and they said the same thing. They call it corporate welfare, big grants to companies, and said there's no follow-up. We don't know if the jobs are even created.
Well, there's certainly no performance indicators around innovation. If you have all these programs that are allegedly about innovation, spurring innovation, the government insists on calling the department innovation and science and economic development, but we have no indicators as to whether they're having an impact on innovation in Canadian business or in the Canadian economy. And we're probably spending certainly hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars a year on these types of programs, and with very little, if any, impact. So at least be transparent about whether these things are working. This approach doesn't seem to be having an effect. We've been on this track for decades with these relatively small programs that add up to a lot of money that aren't having much impact on this fundamental structural problem. We need a different paradigm.
What about our business culture in Canada, though? Are our companies remiss? For example, we hear they don't invest much in research, they don't spend enough on training people.
Well, the indicators are all pretty clear on that quantitatively. They don't spend much on research, on training, on machinery and equipment relative to other countries that we like to compare ourselves to. The question is why? You'd think they would be rational actors in this, and far be it for me to question the business decisions of various Canadian companies and how they choose to invest their corporate profits or money they borrow for investment purposes. But it does seem to be a long-standing problem in Canada. Again, this is not new. This goes back. There's been reports about this in the early 70s, in the late 60s even. This goes back 50, 60 years. Some of it's related to the industrial structure of the country, commodities based and a branch plant type economy and at the manufacturing level. But it is, I think you're right, it's definitely a problem. How you incentivize companies to spend more, to invest more in these things is the question. And the instruments the Canadian government has used over the decades to try to achieve this have manifestly failed. We need a different model.
Eugene.